My best friend marriage? My husband. I walked into my own bedroom and found my husband in bed with my best friend. The woman who held my hand through my father's funeral was now destroying my marriage. My name is Rachel, I'm 34 years old, and I was a wife who thought she had it all figured out. For 8 years, I believed I was living the perfect life with the perfect husband and the perfect best friend. I was wrong about everything. It started so beautifully, like all terrible stories do. I met Marcus at a coffee shop in downtown Seattle when I was 24. He spilled his latte on my laptop, apologized about 100 times, and insisted on buying me a new one. I thought it was excessive, but he said he felt terrible and wanted to make it right. 2 weeks later, he showed up at the same coffee shop with a brand new laptop and asked me to dinner. I said yes. How could I not? He seemed kind, genuine, and genuinely sorry about the accident. Marcus was a financial analyst at a mid-sized firm. He made good money, dressed well, and had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. We got married 2 years later in a small ceremony in Portland. My best friend Sarah was my maid of honor. She had been my friend since college, through every breakup, every job change, every crisis. When my father died from a heart attack 3 years into my marriage, Sarah was the one who sat with me in the hospital corridor while I cried. She brought me food when I couldn't eat. She answered phone calls when I couldn't speak. Marcus was supportive too, but Sarah understood grief in a way he didn't. Her mother had passed away when she was young, so she knew the weight of loss. Sarah was single for most of the time I knew her. She dated here and there, but nothing serious. She always joked that she was married to her career as a marketing director. We had girls' nights every Friday. We'd drink wine, watch terrible reality TV, and complain about work. Marcus never minded. He'd usually go out with his friends or stay late at the office. He said he loved that I had such a strong friendship. He said it made our marriage stronger because I had an outlet for things he didn't always understand. Looking back now, I can see the red flags I ignored. About a year ago, things started shifting in small ways. Marcus began coming home later. He said his workload had increased and he was up for a promotion. I believed him because why wouldn't I? Sarah started canceling our Friday nights more often. She said she was overwhelmed with a new account at work. Again, I believed her. These were my two favorite people in the world. I had no reason to doubt either of them. Then, Marcus started going to the gym. He had never been particularly into fitness, but suddenly he was waking up at 5 in the morning to work out. He lost weight. He bought new clothes. He started using cologne I had never seen before. When I commented on how good he looked, he said he just wanted to take better care of himself. He said he was getting older and wanted to be healthier. It seemed reasonable. It seemed like something a responsible husband would do. Sarah changed too. She got highlights in her hair. She started wearing different makeup. She seemed happier, lighter somehow. When I asked if she was seeing someone, she'd blush and say maybe, but she didn't want to jinx it by talking about it too soon. I was excited for her. I thought my best friend had finally found someone who made her happy. I even asked Marcus if he knew any single guys at his office he could set her up with. He said he'd think about it. The strange moments started piling up. One night, I borrowed Marcus's phone because mine was dead and I needed to check a recipe. A text notification popped up from someone named Rob. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight." I asked Marcus who Rob was. He barely looked up from his laptop and said it was a new guy at work they were grabbing drinks with. I didn't think much of it at the time. A few weeks later, I stopped by Sarah's apartment unannounced with takeout because she had texted that she was having a rough day. She didn't answer the door, even though her car was in the parking lot. I called her and she answered, sounding breathless, saying she was in the shower and would call me back. Something felt off, but I pushed the feeling away. I was being paranoid. I was being a bad friend for not trusting her. Marcus started traveling more for work, quick trips to Portland, San Francisco, sometimes just overnight. He'd kiss me goodbye, promise to call when he landed, and then I'd barely hear from him until he got back. When I complained that I missed him, he said this was temporary. Once he got the promotion, things would settle down. I wanted to believe him so badly that I forced myself to. Then came the night of our anniversary, 8 years of marriage. Marcus said he had to work late and couldn't make our dinner reservation. I was devastated, but tried to be understanding. I called Sarah to vent, and she didn't answer. I called again an hour later. Nothing. I texted her that I really needed to talk and could she please call me back. She texted back 3 hours later saying her phone had died and she had been in meetings all day. By then, I had already cried myself to sleep on the couch. The truth came out on a random Tuesday afternoon in March. I had left work early because I had a migraine. I took some medication and decided to lie down in our bedroom. As I was walking down the hallway, I heard sounds coming from behind our closed bedroom door. At first, I thought Marcus had left the TV on, but then I heard voices. His voice, and another voice I knew better than my own. I stood in that hallway for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds. My hand was shaking so hard I could barely turn the doorknob. When I opened the door, my entire world ended. Marcus was in our bed. Sarah was in our bed. In the bed where I slept every night. On the sheets I had just washed 3 days ago. They both froze. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I don't remember what I said. I think I screamed. I think I told them to get out. I remember Sarah trying to grab her clothes and crying and saying my name over and over. Rachel, Rachel, please, Rachel. I remember Marcus standing there in his boxers, trying to explain, trying to tell me it wasn't what it looked like, which might be the stupidest thing anyone has ever said in the history of stupid things said by cheating husbands. I locked myself in the bathroom and called my brother. He lived 40 minutes away, but he said he'd be there in 20. I sat on the bathroom floor and stared at the tiles and felt like I was watching my life from outside my body. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. My husband and my best friend. The two people I trusted most in the world. How long had this been going on? How many times had they done this? How many lies had I believed? When I finally came out, Sarah was gone. Marcus was sitting on the couch with his head in his hands. He looked up at me with tears in his eyes and said he was sorry. He said it had been going on for 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lying, sneaking around, betraying me in the worst possible way. He said it started at a work event where Sarah's company was also present. They had too much to drink. It was a mistake that turned into more mistakes. He said he never meant to hurt me. He said he loved me and wanted to work things out. I asked him if he loved her. He didn't answer right away, and that silence told me everything. He said he didn't know. He was confused. He had feelings for both of us. I told him to pack a bag and get out of the house. He tried to argue, but my brother had just arrived, and Marcus knew better than to push. My brother is 6'3" and played college football. Marcus grabbed some clothes and left. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I called in sick to work. I ignored every call and text from Sarah. She must have tried to contact me 50 times. I'm sorry, please talk to me. It was a mistake. I never meant for this to happen. I love you. You're my best friend. Every message made me feel sicker. How dare she call herself my best friend? Friends don't sleep with your husband. Friends don't lie to your face for 6 months while destroying your marriage. Marcus kept trying to come back. He'd show up at the house and beg me to let him in. He'd send long emails about how sorry he was and how he wanted to go to therapy and fix our marriage. He said what happened with Sarah was over. He had ended it. He chose me. But I didn't want to be chosen after being betrayed. I didn't want to be the consolation prize. I wanted the husband who loved me enough not to cheat in the first place, and that man didn't exist. He had never existed. I hired a divorce attorney. Her name was Patricia, and she was in her 50s with short gray hair and no patience for cheating husbands. She told me we lived in a no-fault divorce state, so the affair wouldn't matter much legally, but we could still push for a favorable settlement. I told her I wanted the house. I wanted it fast. I wanted to never see Marcus again. She said she'd make it happen. The next few months were the darkest of my life. I had to tell my family what happened. My mother cried. My brother wanted to punch Marcus. My younger sister kept asking how I didn't know, which just made me feel worse. I had to tell people at work because I was a mess and couldn't hide it anymore. My boss was kind and gave me time off. My coworkers sent sympathy cards that made me want to scream, because how do you sympathy card your way through this kind of betrayal? Sarah tried to see me in person. She showed up at my house one Saturday morning. I saw her through the window and didn't open the door. She stood on my porch and cried and begged me to let her explain. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said it just happened. She said she was weak and made a terrible mistake. I wanted to open the door and scream at her. I wanted to ask her which of the 50 times she slept with my husband was the one that just happened. But I didn't open the door. I just watched her cry until she finally left. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Marcus agreed to let me have the house in exchange for other assets. I didn't care about being fair. I cared about having a place that felt like mine, even though every corner of that house reminded me of him. I changed everything I could afford to change. New paint, new furniture, new sheets, obviously. I couldn't afford to renovate the whole place, but I did what I could to make it feel different. I started therapy in May. My therapist's name was Dr. Lynn, and she specialized in betrayal trauma. I didn't even know that was a thing until Patricia mentioned it. Dr. Lynn helped me understand that what I was feeling was normal. The anger, the sadness, the disbelief, the obsessive thoughts about what they did and when and how. She said betrayal by two people you love creates a unique kind of pain because it shatters your ability to trust your own judgment. If I couldn't see this coming, what else was I missing? How could I ever trust anyone again? It took me almost 6 months before I could go a full day without crying. Small things would trigger me. Seeing couples holding hands, hearing a song Marcus and I danced to at our wedding, passing by the restaurant where Sarah and I used to have brunch. I had to relearn how to exist in a world where my marriage was over and my best friend was gone. I joined a support group for people going through divorce. It met every Thursday night at a community center. At first, I just sat there and listened to other people's stories. A woman named Jennifer had been married for 20 years when her husband left her for a younger woman. A man named Paul found out his wife had been having an affair with his brother. Everyone had their own version of hell, and somehow it helped to know I wasn't alone. Slowly, very slowly, I started to rebuild. I focused on work and got a promotion I had been putting off applying for. I started running in the mornings, something I had never done before, but it turned out I liked the way it cleared my head. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage. I said yes to invitations I would have normally declined. I went to a concert. I took a pottery class. I adopted a cat named Biscuit, who sleeps on my bed and makes me feel less alone. It's been almost a year now. I still have hard days. I still wonder sometimes what my life would look like if I hadn't come home early that day. Maybe I would have never known. Maybe Marcus would have eventually ended it with Sarah, and I would have just continued living in ignorant happiness. But I don't really believe that. The truth always comes out eventually. I'm glad I found out when I did, rather than waste more years on a man who didn't deserve me and a friend who was never really my friend at all. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Marcus and Sarah are together now. They're apparently living in Portland. Part of me wonders if they're happy, or if they're haunted by how their relationship started. Part of me doesn't care anymore. They deserve each other, and whatever guilt and mistrust comes with a relationship built on lies and betrayal. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. That woman was naive. She believed in fairy tales and happy endings and people being who they claimed to be. I'm not that woman anymore. I'm stronger now. I'm more careful. I'm slower to trust, but also more sure of myself. I know I can survive the worst kind of betrayal and come out the other side. I know I don't need a husband or a best friend to be complete. I'm enough on my own. Some people might think my story is sad, and maybe it is. But it's also a story about survival and strength and learning that sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best versions of ourselves. I didn't want this to happen. I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone. But I can't deny that I'm a better, stronger, more independent person now than I was when I was married to Marcus and best friends with Sarah. If this story touched you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and which moment hit you the most. Thank you for listening.